Mr. President, I rise to recognize Black history as it unfolds even before our eyes today. In 1895, the Atlanta Compromise, known as the Accommodationists or Accommodation, was a proposal set forth right up the street in Piedmont Park. An African-American leader, Booker T. Washington, in a speech he gave at the Cotton States and International Exposition, he urged Black Southerners to accept segregation and temporarily refrain from campaigning for equal rights, including the right to vote. In return, he advocated that Black people receive basic legal protections, access to property ownership, employment opportunities, and vocational industrial education. Upon the speech conclusion, the white attendees gave Washington a standing ovation. Why? Because at this time, there was a backlash of what was called Reconstruction. There was an attempt to give the formerly enslaved Black Americans an opportunity to fully participate in the American dream. But that dream was cut short as people began to dehumanize African Americans, to have mass violence, to have lynchings, and to have all types of injustices in play put upon those of color. I say this because it took almost from that time, 1895, all the way to 1954, we had a policy called separate but equal. And it took a guy by the name of Thurgood Marshall, who was an African-American civil rights lawyer and jurist who served as an Associate Justice of the Supreme Court of the United States from 1967 to 1951. He, along with Charles Hamilton Houston, formulated a strategy to use sociological data to show how unequal separate but equal was. And it emanated right here in Georgia. And it took all the way from the former century to 1954 for this country to say, wait, it is unequal. And I say that because we are now trying to expose those same conditions that existed in 1895, where we had persons standing up to say, we will retreat if you just treat us more humanely. And I stand because there was an inhumane act done just this past week when the leader of our country stated and depicted the first African-American president and that first African-American first lady as apes. And that's what was going on in 1895. And that is what was supposedly peace. And that peace was a false peace, a false justice, because it allowed people to be violently destroyed because they were treated as inhumane. And when we can see our brothers and sisters as less than human, when we don't stand up and condemn when someone will call someone an ape, being the first African-American president, then we are complicit when we don't speak up. And that's why I'm calling for all of my colleagues to sign off and condemn the racist depiction of our first president, our first lady, as an ape. I'm asking you to do this because if you don't condemn it, you are complicit in it. If you don't condemn it, you are saying that you agree with dehumanization of others. You are agreeing that Atlanta is not a city too great to hate. You are saying that you will agree that you can dehumanize as the slaves were. The slaves were dehumanized to live in slave quarters, to now allow adequate and affordable housing. The slaves were dehumanized and not given health care, expansion of Medicaid, take away health care. More than 200,000 Georgians losing health care right now. When you dehumanize people, you can justify not educating them. You can say it's against the law to educate a slave, and it's against the law to educate our great people of Georgia when we take away the educational opportunities. Join me in condemning those acts of dehumanization. Thank you, and I yield the well.